something for nothing, this time on a gardener's notebook. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of In the Garden for a Gardener's Notebook. I'm Douglas E. Welch. For more information on a Gardener's Notebook as well as everything else that I do, you can visit douglasewelch.com. Well, today it is indeed a day of something from nothing. Everything you see on this table, I got for free. And we're going to step through each of these, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I created each one of them. Now, the big one you see in front of you is Epiphyllum. These came from small little cuttings from my friend. I believe we have a pink and a yellow. They are a little bit rough right now. They got a little too much water, but that's my own fault, not the fault of the cuttings. They literally started out about this big, and now you see the plants in front of you. Next up is this Lantana. These are purple Lantana. Took these cuttings right from plants on my very own garden out front. I tried 6 of them. 2 of them took. That's not a bad ratio. And the 2 that took are very, very vigorous. So these will be potting up into their own individual pots, and eventually they'll go right back out into the garden. I have some areas already planned out for those to go. This tree, and yes, it is a tree, is a Bohemian tree. I have a Bohemian tree, actually several of them, in a neighbor's yard just up the street, and they drop seed like crazy every season. And I decided just to give it a try and see if I could propagate it from seed, and sure enough, this is what I got. I have a couple of these around. I'll probably keep him as a patio tree for a while in pots, and then eventually find a place in the garden proper for him once he gets to be a good sized sapling. But again, totally free. All it took was a few minutes gathering seed on one of my walks. These, although it's a little hard to tell right now because they're very, very young, came from these. These are green onion seeds, allium seeds I gathered from the green onions, which I let go to seed in a container up front. I did a propagation test in the fridge to check. They did propagate there. Then I just potted up a plant here in the back garden, kept them nice and moist, and sure enough, bang, a huge supply of green onions. My wife is going to love this. We'll start using these in our cooking in our kitchen. I have so many seeds that I've actually given away some to several neighbors as well. I also like the alliums, these green onions. They actually produce a really pretty white flower that the bees absolutely love. And so I'm going to just scatter them around the garden and let them come up where they may as a way of attracting pollinators to my garden and helping out the wildlife here. Next is some lavender cuttings that I took from our lavender plants. This is probably the 2nd or 3rd set of lavender that I've taken out of our garden. My wife loves it, I love it, love the smell and scent. We actually harvest the flowers at certain parts of the year to bring inside. These look, I think I took 6 cuttings here, all of them look to be taking fine. Just like with the Lantana, we'll eventually pot each of these up into a slightly larger pot by themselves. And once they get to be 6 or 8 inches or so, they'll go back out into the garden. Again, I have places reserved for these. I get into a pattern with stuff like this where I just start taking cuttings on a regular basis, almost like you would succession plant a vegetable garden. I take cuttings so that I always have a certain amount of cuttings coming on that can go back into the garden. The last one to talk about today is this big behemoth here, and I'll take a close-up of this. There are actually 2 tiny little green sprouts in here, and you wouldn't think that that was very impressive, except that came from this. This is a ginger root like you find in your grocery store. In fact, that's exactly where I found this one. I buy this to make curry and also ginger beer. What I did is I took a small knob of this. It was already sort of had a little sprout on it, and you can sort of see one here. I simply put this a little bit under the soil in a new pot, kept it fairly damp. They do like a moist environment, and now I've got 2 stalks coming up. These will for sure be going into a place in the garden directly, because what happens there is you get a nice big root growing. Well, that root isn't very good to eat. It gets a little woody, but each season you can then go in and take the fresh roots off the ginger and use it in your very own kitchen. Again, totally, or almost in this case for free. Pick this up for under $1 at my local grocery store. Use some of it in my cooking, and the rest of it went right here into the garden. And of course, you've seen in previous episodes of In the Garden my sweet potato and potatoes beds, which come, again, just from starts that come from the grocery store. What a great way to grow food in your garden, simply by using those things that, well, you maybe let go a little too far. Well, that's it for this episode of A Gardener's Notebook. I hope you enjoyed it. For more information, you can visit the website douglasewelch.com. There you'll find links to A Gardener's Notebook as well as everything else that I do. Thanks again for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for future videos so you get them the minute they come out. Until next time, keep on propagating, keep on making stuff for free, and keep on digging.